They're going to try to keep their people in line by both impressing them, showing them how great they are, and make them want to be a part of this kingdom, but also, show them that we're grand enough that you don't want to cross us. You don't want to get out of line. So the king throws this huge party. It's all going great until at the end, his wife defies him, thereby showing everyone that, hey, you can defy this king. And this gets fixed with a decree. Going to be a theme of this book, these decrees. Part of that decree is that the wife is exiled, banished, whatever you want to say. She's not going to get to see the king anymore. That opens up a position which gets filled by Esther, working along with her adoptive father, Mordecai. She gets into this position of queen, and if that wasn't enough for this family, Mordecai learns of this plot to assassinate the king. He tells Esther. Esther tells the king. She credits Mordecai. And this family is just looking great. Like everything is working out, except that the very next thing that happens is that their ancient enemy, Haman, this Agagite, gets elevated to second in the land. What's going on there? And if that wasn't bad enough, Mordecai refuses to bow to Haman. Haman doesn't even see it, doesn't even notice. People have to come and tell him, and he's like, what's going on? Well, he said he wouldn't bow because he's a Jew. And then Mordecai's like, well, I want to kill all the Jews if that's why I want. If a Jew won't bow to me, they're all going to die. And so things have went horribly. That brings us to chapter 4, which I see as this turning point where Mordecai repents. And he realizes that their rock has abandoned them because they have abandoned their rock. And he's like, we got to turn things around here. We got to get God on our side. So he repents, and we kind of finished up last week with this statement he says to Esther that maybe there's a reason that you've come into this position. We compared that to Joseph, talked about how she was really in a pit. Things have went bad for the Jews. They went as bad as they can go. We're all going to die, right? We're all going to die. But also, this thing about Esther, we got her elevated to the queen, but it's not worked out at all. She doesn't even feel like she can talk to her husband. She's really in jail or in a pit. She can't go see anyone. She's cordoned off in this part of the palace. They have to have people going back and forth so she can talk to her dad. And so whole things went horribly. But finally she realizes, I can't be silent here. I have a duty to go and speak against this decree that my husband has made. That's what Torah tells us, is that I have to do that. So she decides to do this, and we're back up to present time now. This starts some new stuff, okay? What we're going to do, I'm going to tell the rest of the story, and I'm going to point out some things that are happening in the story. And at the end, we'll talk about what this means, okay? So at the end of chapter 4, what happens is she decides, okay, whether I live or die, I'm going to go talk to the king. I got to do it. So she fasts for 3 days before she's going to go talk to him. Now, this is interesting because if you remember, what did she have to do the first time before she went to see the king? What had to happen? No, the first time.
She goes through the process.
She goes through the process. Okay, that's putting it lightly. 12 months. 12 months of beauty treatments. What are they doing to this girl? I don't know, what is the most extravagant thing we do today? Somebody goes to the Oscars or something? I'm pretty sure they get that done in 8 hours. This girl, 12 months of beauty treatments before she goes to the king. This time she's got to go see him really for the most important moment of her life, maybe the most important moment of all of the Jews' existence. And what she does is an anti-beauty treatment. By the way, anybody ever fasted 3 days? Anybody here? 3 days, yeah. And I've not made it that long, but I'll tell you what, man, it's I look horrible after, 24 hours. You feel horrible and you look horrible. right? And like this gets pointed out in the New Testament. Jesus is like, hey, like when you fast, you got to clean yourself up. Don't go out and like look like you fasted. Don't let people know. And so like she goes through this anti-beauty treatment. Now, a lot of people like to point out, well, before she goes to see the king, she's going to get prayed up. And she does. She does. But what part of what the story's telling us here is like she's done the opposite of what she does the first time. And then like it goes even further. It says she puts on her royal robes and goes and talks to the king. Now it's interesting because we've had like this is like the third time where someone is supposed to go, or a woman's supposed to go appear before the king. First time, and each time it talks about like what they've got or what they're wearing or what they're not wearing. First time it's like, well, Queen Vashti, she's requested to come in her crown, her royal crown. And we're like, her crown and what else? When Esther goes the first time, anybody remember what it said when Esther goes the first time? She took nothing but what the eunuch recommended that she take. And then now this time, she's went through an anti-beauty treatment, and she's putting on her royal robes. I'm just telling you what the story's pointing out here, right? 3 times, 3 things it points out. She's doing like the opposite of what she did the first time. And then we really get to the very first part of chapter 5 here. She goes like, this is the moment. Like the way the story is set up, she's got one shot. She is going to go stand there, and the king is either going to be like, yeah, what do you want? Or she's going to die. And it's like, great. The king extends the golden scepter to her, and she goes up and she touches it. And not only that, he says, what is your request? I will give to you even up to half the kingdom. Half the kingdom it will be given to you. Now, if you're reading the story at this point, what are you thinking? Like this is great. What's she going to say? What should she say at this point?
I think she's saying yes.
What? Half the kingdom? Give me half the kingdom. You might be thinking that, but she's got something more important on her mind. Like, half the kingdom isn't that great. Like if you're dead in a few months. Say the Jews. Like this decree.
If you didn't know, I was a Jew.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, I'm a Jew, and there's this decree to kill the Jews. And like, can we get this cleared up? Like, I don't need half the kingdom. That's great. Like, thank you. But really, I really just want this one decree gone. And but that's not what she says. What does she say? She invites him to a party. And there's this, she doesn't just invite him to a party. She invites someone else, right? And very interesting the way the story words this. She's like, let me just read it. It's in chapter 5, verse 4. If it pleases the king, replied Esther, let the king, together with Haman, come today to a banquet I have prepared for him. I just imagine for a second, like, let's say you're a guy or you're a woman. Your spouse comes to you. Let's go guy, because it's got to work one way or the other. Your wife comes to you, and like you can tell she wants something, and you're like, hey, what do you need, honey? And she's like, well, look, I've prepared a meal for you and Todd. Why don't you come to this meal I've prepared for him? And what are you thinking immediately? Like, spark a little jealousy? Spark a little jealousy? Like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why? And it's an interesting thing in the grammar of the Hebrew. It uses this word he. Now, she's been talking about him in the third person. When I say that in the English, you or Todd, to the banquet I prepared for him, you think the banquet's for Todd, right? Because he's the third person. But the way this is written in the Hebrew, that him could go to either one of them. So she leaves this out there like, come to this banquet I prepared for one of you. And so not only is like the whole situation sparked this jealousy, but the words that she's used have like left this hanging in the air, like, who is this banquet for? So Haman's like, or the king is like, yeah, immediately get Haman, like right now. We're going to this banquet. So they go to the banquet. Apparently they eat. they're drinking their wine afterwards. And the king again asks her, like, what do you want? What's your request? Up to half the kingdom I will give it to you. And so you might think now, like, okay, well, maybe she didn't ask the first time because, like, I don't know. Why? Like, let me just ask you, like, the first time, like, why go to the banquet? Like, why not ask for what you want? Why say, hey, let's go to a banquet? Nothing. I don't know. Like, first thought that comes to my mind is like, well, maybe I need to butter him up first. Like, maybe if he's had a good meal, like, maybe he'll be more inclined to grant my request. So we get that out of the way, and then he asks again, and you'd think like, well, now that's the time, right? But what does she say? She says like, hey, I come to this banquet tomorrow. Let's have another banquet. As if it wasn't enough to be like the first time, instead of asking for what she wants, she's like, come to this banquet. He asks again. She's like, let's do another banquet. Let's do another banquet. So here's the thing that we kind of miss with this. The last time in the story that she had to come tell the king something, what was it? In the story, the last thing she comes to tell him is what?
What we just went through, or before this?
Well, yeah. Before this, the last thing that she has to come tell him is, "Hey, some of your people are plotting to kill you." And if we forget that detail, we're reading this and we're thinking like, she's sparking jealousy. She might even be suggesting there's something going on with her and Haman. But if we remember that detail and think about this, the king's there, he sees her, and he's like, oh, hey, yeah, that's my wife. I love her. I forgot about her for a while. Hadn't really spoken to her in a month. But like here she's coming again. And she comes to him and she's like, I got something to tell you, but like, let's go to have a banquet. Just you and me and Haman. I got to tell you something. Where is his mind going?
That moment of trust that she instilled in the first time.
Exactly. And, that first time, just imagine like it's someone in his inner court who wants to assassinate him. And so you can't just walk in and be like, him, he's trying to kill you. No, she's like, I got to get you away from the people that are trying to kill you so I can tell you what's going on privately. And so at first, he's probably just thinking like, oh, she's got to get me and my top advisor alone so she can tell me what's going on. Doesn't that make perfect sense? Like last time she came, she had to get me in private so she could tell me about this assassination plot. She's doing it again. But then when she gets him alone with him and Haman, she's like, I still can't tell you. Let's try again tomorrow. So then they all go to bed, all right? Except the king can't sleep. The king can't sleep, right? Why can't the king sleep? Because of what Esther has done, all right? Now sometimes we point out, or people like to point out, God's not mentioned in the story, but here, look, the king can't sleep. God's behind this. And in fact, like the king can't sleep, and so he can't sleep, so he asked for these records to become, and it just happens to be the records of the last time there was an assassination attempt on his life. Did it just happen to be that? Or is this what Esther has orchestrated? What Esther has brought to happen. So anyway, like maybe he requests this because he's like, what's going on here? And so he requests these records to be brought. He finds out that like the last time someone tried to assassinate him, Mordecai is the one who tells him what's going on, and Mordecai was not rewarded. And of course, he's like, if he's worried about being assassinated again, and the last time he was assassinated, he didn't reward the person who saved his life? Of course he's thinking like, oh man, we got to do something for this guy, right? Like maybe that's the first thing I need to clear up is I need to start rewarding the people who saved my life. Like maybe that's what we need to do. So he decides that. At the same time, Haman had went home and he calls together his friends and his wife to brag and be like, man, I've got so many children. Look at my sons. I got all this wealth. The king has honored me. And you know what? Like, I can't be happy about any of that because this one guy, this person that was insignificant to me that I didn't even notice, won't bow down to me. By the way, when Haman's leaving, he sees Mordecai. He gets angry because Mordecai neither rises or shows fear. Now, why did he get mad the first time? Because he wouldn't bow. Now he's mad because he didn't rise. Makes the question in my mind, well, did he bow this time? Would he just not bow the right way? So anyway, after that, Haman calls together his friends so he can brag. Talks about how great things are, how great his life is going, but I'm not happy because it's Mordecai the Jew. You know, by the way, like you read this and you're just like, what is wrong with this guy? Like everything's going great, but you can't be happy because of this one person who wasn't even significant, wasn't even in your mind. And I thought about that for a while, and I'm like, oh man, how many of us have been upset at some point because of something someone said, and the only thing that was standing between us and happiness was not caring about what they said? Anybody? Anybody? Is there anybody here who hasn't done that? Anybody here who's never been upset just because of something someone said to them? The Bible is holding up a mirror. We all have a little bit of Haman inside of ourselves. We have all done that, and the Bible is showing us how ridiculous it is to feel that way.
It comes from obsession. When we obsess over any one thing, it becomes a problem.
It becomes a problem.
It becomes that God or that idol that we set up in our lives, and in the moment that we worship that, we lose all reality of what life really has blessed us with. We focus on the wrong thing.
We focus on the wrong thing. You know, I was thinking that, like, right now, I feel like half of America is upset because of what someone else thinks. And they spend half their day on their phone, and their phone is making them more upset about what someone else thinks. And the only thing between them and happiness is to put the phone down and don't care. You can just not care what that person thinks. Now, his friends, they have a different idea of what the solution to this problem is. And it's pretty much what half of America thinks. Like, if we could just set up 75-foot poles and impale my enemies on them, then I would be happy. That's the solution to me being happy. That's what his friends say. It's not the solution, but that's what his friends say. So he goes, apparently in the middle of the night, this guy, like, I could be happy if it wasn't for him. Well, like, and his wife is like, in the morning, you know, like a reasonable person. In the morning, go to the king. No, he's going to the king in the middle of the night. Just imagine, like, you know, the king being woken up in the middle of the night, and he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What do you need? Man, there's this guy that I need to impale on this pole. Okay, why do we have to do this now? Because he didn't bow down to me. Actually, maybe he did bow down to me, but he wasn't afraid when he bowed down to me. Okay, so he goes, this is his plan. Unbeknownst to him, the king has just been reminded that Mordecai saved his life. And so he's like, what should be done for the man the king wants to honor? And I kind of have this question in my mind, like, has the king said that because he's a little frustrated with Haman? Because he's suspicious of Haman? Or at this point, is he just like, more worried about himself and like, first thing I need to do is take care of this guy that saved my life. Okay? So, and he's got an advisor here, and that's what he does. He asks his advisors about stuff. It's possibly just completely innocent in that like he's got nothing against Haman at this point. But he asks Haman what to do, and Haman gives this speech that's just like, he's like, oh man, you should take that guy. He should wear the king's clothes. He should ride the king's horse. Although the king's crown should be put on the horse's head. And one of the king's advisors should lead him through the city saying, this is what should be done for the man, the king. And he's like, the king. I want to wear his clothes. I want to ride his horse. And what's in the king's mind? Somebody, I don't know who, somebody wants to assassinate me. And he's sitting there watching Mordecai say like, I want to wear the king's clothes. I want to ride the king's horse. And the king's like, So, the king's like, yeah, that's Mordecai's the guy I want to honor. So Haman has to do this. Just imagine how he feels now. Imagine how he feels now. He goes back to that same group that was like, man, all you got to do, let's just kill this guy. That's the answer to your problems. You just got to kill this guy. And then they're like, and Haman's like, oh man, I had to go. Like this backfired on me. I had to go lead Mordecai through the streets. Like, oh, it was awful. It was the worst experience of my life. And then his friends, or I think it's actually his wife, is like, oh, dude, you're done. This is bad things for you. Because Mordecai is a Jew. If Mordecai is of Jewish origin, if he's really a Jew, so we'll say that for later. If you're really an Agagite, and this guy's really a descendant of you know who, you're done, man. You're done. Okay, that leads up to chapter 7. Finally, we got another banquet. The king, again, third time. Of course, he's coming 3 days. 3 days, Esther fast. What is 3? 3 days before the test. 3 times he's going to ask before the test. And so she finally says this time, like, there's this decree. Somebody wants to kill me and my people. And if we had just been sold as slaves, I wouldn't even have bothered you with this. But they want to kill me and my people. And the king's like, who? Who? Now, remember in his mind, somebody wants to assassinate him. That's what he's been worried about this whole time. Maybe he's got some suspicions that it's Haman because of Haman's speech. And then he learns, oh, hey, actually, somebody wants to kill her. Somebody wants to kill the queen. My wife, who wants to do this? It's Haman. Haman's the one. Now, the king, for the first time in the story, doesn't just immediately react. The king's like, I need to go think about this. Let me think about this. So he goes out to the garden. He comes back, and what does he find? But Haman falling on the queen's couch because he's begging her for mercy. And it uses this word in the NIV. The king's going to say, hey, are you even going to molest the queen while I'm in the house? Now, generally we've taken that to mean like, oh, he thinks like he's trying to molest her in a sexual way, because molest, that's what that word means, right? It's not what the word means in the Hebrew. You can look up every single one of the times it's used in the Old Testament. I didn't find any of them that had a sexual connotation to them. The word is first used when man is going to have dominance over the animal kingdom. And then it's used a lot of time in war scenarios where one group is going to have dominance. They're going to subdue another people. You're going to subdue this people or that people and make them your slaves. Calling back to that word, like she was saying, oh, if they just wanted to make us slaves, but no, they want to kill us. So in my mind, she's not setting this thing up like, hey, Haman wants me, but like Haman wants to kill me. And the king thinks like, you're trying to beat her up right now? You're trying to kill her right now while I'm here? And of course, that's the end of Haman. Bag on his head. He goes to the pole that he had set up. He gets impaled on it. So we kind of been interrupted, right? Like, she asked for what she really wants, right? But there's this decree. I need this decree overridden. And we kind of got interrupted. There was like a little chaos. Somebody gets impaled. But the decree's still there. So she's got to come back again and be like, hey, can we get rid of this decree? And you got to be thinking now, like, yeah, I mean, the guy who made it has just been impaled. Like, I did that because he wanted to kill you. So what's the king going to say? Like, of course he's going to say yes, except he doesn't. Instead, he says, none of my decrees can be overturned. Isn't that how we started the story? Isn't that what this whole thing is about? I can't overturn this decree. And now we kind of understand why she didn't just say that in the beginning. Because even after all of this work that they've done, King's like, no, we don't overturn decrees here. That's not what happens. So he gives her and Mordecai the ability to write a new decree. But he says, I'm going to let you write a decree. Now you remember, no decrees can be overturned. And so one, he's saying, like, you got the power to write a decree that can't be overturned. But also remember, that decree that I made cannot be overturned. So instead they write this new decree. This new decree is that the Jews can defend themselves. We can't say that you can't attack them, but we can say that they can defend themselves. And so this whole thing kind of plays out. The Jews assemble, they defend themselves, they kill a bunch of people, they win their war. At the end of this, they're going to make a holiday out of this thing. The killing goes on for 2 days, so they're going to make a 2-day holiday out of it. They're going to call it Purim, plural of Pur. Like they're going to name the holiday after the dice that Haman cast. And then, this story keeps going. Keeps going on. And at the end, you got this really short chapter where Xerxes is going to impose tribute throughout the empire. His greatness is going to be proclaimed. And then the very last verse here, and Mordecai, this is chapter 10, verse 3. Mordecai the Jew was second in rank to King Xerxes. Remind you of anybody? Second in rank? It's Joseph. Preeminent among the Jews and held in high esteem by his many fellow Jews because he worked for the good of the people and spoke up for the welfare of all the Jews. It gets translated in this way all of the many of the Jews held him in high esteem. What it's actually saying is hey man, a lot of the people liked this guy. Many of the people liked this guy. Which makes you think, what? Some didn't. What? That's the last verse of this book? Is it many of the Jews were really like this guy. He just saved their lives. Many of them liked him? What's going on here? We won't get to that till next week. But that's the story. As we're going through that, thoughts, things that stuck out to you, questions that you have.
So in her 3-day fast, she's working. She's preparing this banquet. It was ready.
It was ready. It was ready. Immediately. The food is hot.
Yes.
The food is hot. Yeah. Now, I don't know, if she's cooking.
Right.
She hasn't.
She's queen. I get that.
She's queen. Which is the whole thing about this. I'm saying she's in a prison. She's queen. If she wants something, she's go and get this. But she's also in a prison. She can't go see anyone. In my mind, she can't even leave. She can't go outside. She has this specific group of guys who take care of her needs, and they've been altered for this specific purpose. That's the only men that she can see, unless it's in at a banquet or something. She can, but she can't go outside. She can't see people that she wants to see. She's in prison, but she's queen. She can't even see her father, but she can be hey, I want this and this and this and this at this banquet. She can just tell people how she wants it, and Yeah. But, so yeah, long story short, I think she's busy fasting is what she's doing. She's not eating, she's praying for 3 days.
She prepares the banquet.
In faith, she prepares the banquet. And I kind of have this question like, was she really in trouble? Is he really going to be like, her? Off with her head. After she had saved his life, and she's like, hey, I got to tell you something. Like the king is not portrayed as like that bright in this book, but he ain't that dumb either. So like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much trouble she was really in.
Is she concerned about how he treated Vashti before her?
I mean, like maybe, like she's concerned. I mean, and what it would be concerning, right? Like, okay, I'm going to go up to him and like, I'm either going to live or die in that moment.
Right.
Like, that's going to concern anyone. But now, she didn't defy him. Like, the last thing that she did was save his life. And it's, so this unfair thing happens, right? Mordecai saves her life, saves the king's life, and then his enemy is promoted to second in command. Esther saves his life, and now he doesn't talk to her for 30 days. So she's concerned about that. But like on the surface, she doesn't have, like the last thing she did was save his life. She didn't defy him like Vashti.
It seems to me it just speaks to the reality of him having absolute power.
Absolutely.
So that if for some reason he's displeased and that displeasure,
He might be in a bad mood.
kill anybody.
Yeah.
If anybody killed, that's going to happen.
He might just be in a bad mood.
Right.
A fly landed on his head before you came in.
Yeah.
And he was trying to swat it away and hit himself, and now he's mad,
It also reminded me of Nehemiah's troubled because he learns that the walls of Jerusalem are lying in ruins.
Absolutely.
He's serving as cupbearer to the king of Persia later.
Yeah.
And he prays for 4 months
Yeah.
before he approaches the king. And the king, because of his respect, I guess, for Nehemiah, sees Nehemiah troubled and asks, what's bothering you, Nehemiah? And Nehemiah tells him, my people's city is lying in ruins, and I would like to go help or whatever. And the king lets him go.
Yeah, and there's another parallel there. Like what happens, why the king notices is because this is cupbearer. His job is to drink the king's drink before the king does. And we look at him, did he die? No, we're good. I can drink the drink. That's the cupbearer's responsibility. And so he comes up and he's like, he's been fasting and praying. And the king's like, whoa, whoa, what's going on here? And so you kind of wonder if like the same thing, like Esther comes, she's visibly in distress. Like this is an amazing thing that he says. It's not just like, hey, what you need? Hey, what do you need? Hey, what is your request? I'll give you anything up to half the kingdom. He's like really concerned. Maybe the reason he's really concerned is that she looks like she needs to tell me that somebody's going to kill me again. Like that's what she looks like when she comes. And so I want to call this like Esther's masterpiece. She has like orchestrated things so well. She does the opposite of what she did before, and it works really well. Now, I'll tell you, we don't have a whole lot of time left. I want to tell you my contention of what's going on here. Is because is God involved? Is God lining up all of these details, or is Esther lining up all of these details? That's one of the big questions here. I presented this like Esther's orchestrating all of this. And what I see when I read this is that in the beginning of the book, they're scheming, they're plotting. It seems to be working out, except that like it goes horribly wrong. The same way that this feast goes horribly wrong for the king and his wife defies him, Esther and Mordecai do everything right, and it backfires as bad as it possibly could until they repent. And now they're plotting and scheming, and everything is going as well as it possibly could. The interesting thing is that the one thing in the book where you can say, like, that's God, is in the lots. And that happens before Mordecai repents. That's what's beautiful to me about this. We have this like, they're plotting and scheming, everything's horrible, Mordecai repents. Now they're plotting and scheming and everything works out great. That to me is apparent in the book. But the thing where it's like God steps in, what does he do? He gives them time. He gives them time is what God does in the lots. I find that very interesting. What else you got? What do y'all think? Who thinks that like this book is about God behind the scenes? Show of hands.
Well, I mean, because isn't this life? God working, even though, like, let's say I pray and it all works out. But there were things that I had to do in the process for that to work out. Is that we're in this similar situation? Of course, I'm going to give God the glory, but at what point did I have to do my end of it for God to bring things to culmination, or what?
Absolutely. Okay, so you look at this phrase, the "make yourself deaf." One of the first times it shows up is as the Israelites are leaving in the Exodus, and like the army's chasing them. And what does Moses tell them? What do you got? Or what are we going to do about this? What do you got to do? You ain't got to do nothing. Make yourself deaf. You hear the army coming. You see the army coming. Make yourself deaf to it. Don't even see it. Don't even pay any attention to that army coming, because God is going to fight for you. But other places it's used, somebody's got to do something. Something has happened, and this is what's going on in the story. Her husband has made this decree that she has to speak against. That's Mordecai's whole point. You have to do something. You cannot be silent in this moment. And so she's got to do something. She's got to make a plan. She's got to act. She can't just be like, just pray and then be like, well, let me see what God does. She's got to act.
I always go back to Jesus healing the man at the well. And Jesus starts with a question: do you want to be healed?
Yeah.
And I always come to that where, is there a choice there? You know, Jesus is not just healing this guy. It's like, what's your goal here? Do you want to be healed? Are you? And the guy says, well, nobody can carry me to the pool. When the water, and so that's always stuck in my mind of, there comes a point where we have to ask, do we want what we're praying for? Are we going to do what we can on our end?
So my wife will tell you, you're going to pray for patience? Well, you better be careful. You better be careful if you're praying for patience. Because maybe what God's going to do is give you an opportunity to be patient. And maybe what he's saying here is, do you want to be healed? Because I don't know, man, now like you don't have to do anything. You don't have a lot of responsibilities. There's responsibilities that are going to come with being healed. Do you really want that? Because with the healing, with the power, comes responsibility. Absolutely. And so that's what I see in the story. I think you're exactly right. Like God is working. God is working with her. That's what's happening in the second half of the story. They're still acting and doing everything that they can. The difference is that now God's on their side. Whereas in the first half of the story, he's not. Anything else before we close? So my answer is, well, it's both. Yeah, of course, like God's doing it, but she is too. She is too. All right. Next week we get to look at this book in the context of the broader story. It's great.